It's time for this week's installment of Ezekiel Kralen's ongoing saga of the two little dogs and his friend who takes advantage of him, and nonetheless things continue to progress. Where is the beginning of this? Angels of the Night is the title of this. Ezekiel Kralen wrote. Email correspondence May 27th last year. Subject, Deke showed up again last night, though not that late. Continued. Some minutes later I caved in, leashed the hounds to the post, and dashed upstairs. I also brought them a fresh bowl of water and a baggie filled with treats. Upon my return, there was a young Asian lady, nicely dressed in a dark wool coat, crouched down and taking snapshots of the pups with her smartphone. "Hey there," I said in a cheerful tone, while first setting down the bowl, then a flattened trash bag upon which I tossed the comforter. She looked up at me from her low position, smiled, and said, "What darling little pups you have. They're my love and joy," I replied, then explained a bit they belong to my houseless friend for whom I dog-sit now and then, as well as help in other ways. "So what are their names?" she queried. "This is the female, Flacco," I pointed, "and her brother there is Lucky. They're from different litters, almost a year apart." "What kind of mix are they? They're unbelievably cute." "Well, not absolutely certain," I replied, "but I'd say they're mainly part Brindle Terrier and part Dachshund, with a touch of Basset Hound. See Lucky's chunky paws? Only Bassets have those kind of paws." Meanwhile, the mutts stood there patiently, looking up at me with sweet anticipation, for they smelled the bag of nummies in my pocket. Their pleading dachshund eyes made me feel like I was taunting them at this point, so I offered some treats to the friendly woman, who was so delighted to feed them herself. "Break up the milk bones into smaller pieces and feed them to Flacco," I instructed, because Lucky doesn't care for them. He used to, but not anymore. I also gave her several pieces of the duck breast wedges so she could feed Lucky as well. Whichever dog she fed, I made sure to give the other one a snack at the same time, just so neither furry would think they've fallen out of favor. Around this time, a tall, hefty fellow with a curly mop of dark orange hair appeared and stood there, admiring the doggies being fed. He muttered something to the woman once she stood back up, but I couldn't make it out. He swayed with a drunken stupor, which immediately alerted the pups into wild barking. I pulled them back on their tethers, even though they couldn't reach him. They didn't scare him. He just stared down at the canines with kind amusement. But soon as I grabbed Flacco and Lucky by the collar, he suddenly fell flat on his back. Fortunately, he had an ample butt that cushioned his collapse. I asked if he's all right. The Asian lady chuckled, said, "Yeah, he's okay," and helped him back up. I couldn't actually see him once he had fallen, thanks to Deke's stuffed cart blocking my view. The man carefully turned around and began to walk away. The woman handed me a Jackson, said, "Here, he wants you to have this for the dogs." "Thank you so much," I called out to him. "Now you be sure to get home safely." "I have a cat myself," she exclaimed before departing, then showed me a picture on her smartphone. It looked like one of those sea attachment, only entirely white. "How lovely," I replied. "What breed is that?" "He's my Persian lovebug," she proudly declared. I then unzipped my small backpack to withdraw a Brindlekin prayer card and handed it to her. These lovely creatures have so inspired me. I've started writing tales about them, how they've changed my life so much for the better, and I'm already up to book 8. They're free to read, no strings attached. "Wow, that's amazing," she replied. "I'll definitely read your stories." And with that, she vanished into the dark, this angel who appeared out of nowhere to shower me with kindness and joy. I then sat down with my charges and fed them the rest of their goodies. It was but another 10 minutes before Deke returned. True to his word, he rolled up on a bicycle. "I made sure to get back in a half hour, because I know I interrupted your night." "Thanks, much appreciated," I replied, then stood up to prepare for their departure, which took a surprising quarter-hour more because he entered the Hohokam smoke shop already flush with customers, while it was a lovely Friday evening and revelers were out and about. Yet instead of hurrying back inside to finally resume my dinner, long cold, and listen to more of Marshall's show, I remained with the pups snuggled close until their master's return. How could I do otherwise, Watson, there being the flame in my heart that was but a cinder previously? Besides which, I did not care to leave them stranded for even a minute, or swipe their cushy blanket away from under their paws. Both quadrupeds, especially Flacco, gazed attentively at the smoke shop doorway, awaiting their master's exit. And who could blame them, as he only appeared for a few seconds before vanishing again? "Okay, you can go home now," Deke said as he stood by the cart ready to take off. I said, "Fine," then added, "Wait a minute, I have a little gift for you." Upon speaking those words, I withdrew the Jackson given me by that mop-haired lush and handed it over. "Someone gave this to me to spend on the dogs," I explained. He flashed a bright grin and said, "Thanks for your honesty." "Believe me, Deke, I was tempted, especially since you screamed at me tonight. But then I thought, what's the point? I'm a better man than that." "I'm impressed," he replied with a laugh. "Just don't do it again, please. No need to be rude to someone who's always here for you and make people in my building so angry I'll get slapped with another lawsuit." "Okay, I hear you," he abode, then grabbed the bicycle and started walking it toward Noe Street. "Stay there. I'll be right back." Turned out he only moved everything 8 yards further up, beneath Super Duper's awning, where some amiable black fellow awaited him by the bus stop. Skinny, 1 inch taller than yours truly, and colorfully attired, though a tad scrappy-looking overall, either chic bohemian or homeless, I'm guessing the latter. Deke said he'll need that sleeping bag tonight, so I gave it up, and he tossed it down beside the wall. Unsurprisingly, the canines took to it immediately and tucked themselves in. Though tempted to ask if he plans to crash out there till morning, I sensed he wanted to be alone with the fellow, so simply offered to fill up the dog's water bowl before crashing out myself. He said, "Okay." So I hurried back upstairs, filled the empty bowl, and brought it to them. Wishing them a good night, I stepped back into my building. But it didn't end there, good physician. To be continued.